what's up? Check out this blunt and honest review from the Jock and Nerd Podcast. That's us. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the jock.
He's the nerd.
And he's the rug boy.
What's up, guys?
Jock and Nerd. Okay, Anthony, let's get to this week's movie review. Summer blockbuster season is in full gear. Get ready for lots of car racing puns. We're going to be looking at F1, the movie. Here's your spoiler alerts.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Prepare to be spoiled!
Let's not race to the end here, Anthony. Let's keep the racing puns to a minimum. I already did 2. So
you better stay in your lane.
Yeah. See? Okay, that's 3. Keep it track.
We got to rev the engine for this one.
Oh, God. Don't hit the brakes yet.
No.
Okay, that's 6. Okay, we're done. I got it out of my system. Anyways, what we have here, everyone, is a jock movie, an original movie.
That's right.
A racing movie.
Correct.
Stuff we haven't seen in a while, really, and it's not usually big summer blockbuster fare, but they have brought it to us on Rotten Tomatoes currently. This movie is sitting at an 83% tomato meter, critic score, 97% audience score. Big budget, of course, made for estimated $200 million. Well, it says 200 to 300 million.
Yeah, there's been a lot of mixed reporting on what the budget was.
I mean, it looks expensive, and this marketing push that we have seen in the last few weeks couldn't have been cheap. They've been doing a lot. But I think the returns opening weekend are pretty solid. It makes $57 million domestically opening weekend, currently sitting at $146 million global debut. I would say that's not bad for an original racing movie.
Yeah. Also, keep in mind that it's the 57, but you mentioned 146. This movie is already doing really well internationally. And you think about F1, the sport.
Yes.
It is much more of an international sport than just a domestic sport. So I think it's going to do really well.
It's going to have legs overseas.
Or it's been doing really well.
That 57 million higher than the projection. They thought 40 to 50 million. 57 million domestic opening. It's the biggest, or the 146 makes it the biggest global opening for Brad Pitt, ahead of World War Z. That was in 2013. Number 2 biggest domestic opening for him after World War Z. This is his biggest box office hit in like 11 years, which is kind of nuts. It's kind of a return of him to the leading man blockbuster, big budget movies. Who else is happy is Apple Studios, who produced this after some of their movies underperforming, like Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Argyle. They are happy as they finally have a hit, which is good for them, even though they're $1 trillion company. I don't think they care. I mean, they care a little bit, but
they don't. But I mean, I think they invested a lot in this, and I think the importance of this doing well, it means a lot to all streamers in terms of them realizing potentially that to have sustained success with the movies they release on streaming, they actually should release them in the movie theaters first.
They gotta go in the theater first, yes.
Right, because then that buzz then carries over to the streaming.
It's a simple thing, and Apple has dumped a couple of movies straight to Apple TV, like Wolves, which had George Clooney and Brad Pitt. Was supposed to be theatrical, and they chickened out, and they just put it on streaming. So you'll see, put it in theaters, and goes on streaming. This movie's going to be huge when it hits wherever. Apple.
I have 3 questions, by the way, before you ask me stuff.
Yeah.
To set the stage here.
Yeah.
So there's 3 things that I think of right away. And I see you put this in there, but one.
Yeah.
What is your relationship with sports movies?
Okay.
Imran?
Okay.
Does start there?
Okay. So I actually love a good sports movie.
Wow.
Yeah. If the story is done well, and the tension and, the drama is there and it makes you feel something. Absolutely. Good story is a good story. It doesn't matter what it's about. So
what's your favorite sports movie, or what are your favorites?
Oh man, now you put me on the spot.
Yeah, I'm testing you. The tables have turned, Imran.
I mean, we're thinking about racing. Like Ford versus Ferrari came to mind.
Mm-hmm.
I love Days of Thunder. What's another, like Dodgeball?
Dodgeball, Jesus Christ.
I'm trying to think of like a really powerful.
Rocky.
Oh well, yeah. You got your Rockies.
Any Given Sunday. I mean,
there's so many. So I mean, a good movie is a good movie, right? I have no problem. And even racing. What about you? Because racing, I have a kind of a weird connection to.
Yeah. So obviously, I'm a jock. I like sports movies. There was a time as a kid I really loved sports movies.
Yeah.
Couldn't get enough of them. There was a time in my teenage to maybe early adult years where I liked sports movies, but I found them to be a little too cliche. So I got away from sports movies. But now I'm back on board. I like sports movies. I like a good one. And there's a lot more depth to the genre. You can do the cliche stuff. You can do something like Any Given Sunday. You can do movies like The Wrestler or things like that are a little more, they'll have a little more depth or character studies. So sports movies are great. I'm not a big fan of racing movies. I've only seen, I'm looking at your list right here. Yeah. I've only seen Ford v Ferrari.
Okay.
And obviously I've seen the Fast and Furious, but Fast and Furious is like a racing movie, but it's not a sports racing movie. Ford v Ferrari is more of a sports racing movie. I don't have much of a relationship with sports racing movies. I've really never actually even been into racing in general.
No, the only racing thing I got into was the racing video games. I've always loved racing video games. And
I never even liked those all that much.
Oh man, I like going back to pole position on the Atari and in the arcades, which was like an F1 car. I played a bunch of Gran Turismo and Burnout and all these. I loved, I don't know what it was. I loved racing games. Because you get in that zone and you see like the line, and when the game's really good, like Gran Turismo, like it becomes second nature and you can feel it. So I don't know. That's about it. I don't follow F1. So let's put that out there.
That was going to ask you.
That's the next question.
Are you familiar with F1?
I know they're funny looking cars and they go really fast. And in Chicago, they're going to have the NASCAR
that's not
race
the same.
Again. Second time, it's
not the same.
It's not the same, but no, I don't fuck with F1. I know nothing about it. I know. Okay. I just recently heard of that dude McClurk because all the kids were like McClurk. There was some fucking TikTok clip.
Yeah.
And that's all I know.
I'm not a big F1 guy either. I've never really liked racing in general. F1, IndyCar, NASCAR. F1 though is probably the most prestigious international racing sport. And it is an international sport in America. Like we like our most popular is NASCAR,
right?
And then IndyCar racing,
yeah.
But F1 has gotten pretty popular, or really gained in popularity because during COVID, on Netflix they released a documentary called Drive to Survive. And that's what started getting it really popular. And then they started doing races in the U.S. They started with Austin.
Yeah,
they now have a race in Miami. They have a race in Vegas. So it's pretty popular now, and it is the premier racing sport. And what's kind of interesting about F1 is each of these cars, like everyone, it's a whole team. Like everyone assembles their own car.
Yeah.
You know, they're unlike other sports where you're using the same equipment. These teams are creating their own equipment. And then there's the aspect, which I didn't know until this movie, of the fact that you're racing everyone else, but then you're also racing against your team.
This is what I thought was fascinating. Yeah. And throughout this movie, I loved, and it did what I wanted it to do, was I wanted to learn about F1. And I thought I did them explaining things worked, and you learn a lot. And that's part of like when a racing movie is done well, it's super exciting because the shit is fucking dangerous what these fucking crazy fuckers are doing.
Well, absolutely. We'll get into that in a second.
Yeah. Let me just
one more establishing question.
Yes.
And we did this similar thing after we did Mission Impossible, but we're not going to go as deep.
Yeah.
But it bears at least acknowledging, because Joseph Kosinski directed this.
Yeah.
He directed Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
Top Gun Maverick, Tom Cruise. Yeah. Coming back, driving something fast or flying something fast in a fast vehicle.
Yeah.
With a young kid.
Yep.
Obviously, Tom Cruise is a legend.
Yeah.
The DNA is the same for this.
Mm-hmm.
Old guy, fast vehicle, young kid has to interact and they don't get along.
Mm-hmm.
Brad Pitt's in the role.
Mm-hmm.
And similar to Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt's been around forever.
Also in his 60s.
Stud.
Yeah.
One of the sexiest men alive. I think probably sexier probably a bigger sex symbol than Tom Cruise was.
Yes.
what is your relationship with Brad Pitt, and what movies of Brad Pitt do you enjoy?
I fucking love Brad Pitt. Look, he's got stuff for the ladies, but the projects he picks, I love him in weird shit like Fight Club or 12 Monkeys or even the little role in True Romance. But then we were talking about sports movies. He does Moneyball, which is legit about baseball statistics.
Right.
And it's a really interesting movie. But I've always been a Brad Pitt fan. You know, the only time he's worked with Tom Cruise is Interview with a Vampire, and that was really good. And then Bullet Train, he's always good at everything. Like, who doesn't love the Brad Pitt? He's done so many things.
Yeah, Brad Pitt's worked with a lot of great directors. Brad Pitt's kind of stayed away for the most part from big franchises.
Yeah.
He did Ocean's 11, like those were the big franchises. He was in that. He tried to go big, like Troy. He did his big budget thing, but for the most part, he's done, I wouldn't say niche movies, but he's done movies that are all kind of different and all working with creative people and doing these different stories. Like you mentioned, he's done Moneyball. He's been in the Ocean's 11. He's in Inglourious Bastards. He's done 12 Years a Slave. He's in Fury. You think about 12 Monkeys. He was in True Romance. Like, he's in a lot of like really interesting things.
He's also worked with great directors.
Yeah. So he's had a very interesting career, whereas Tom Cruise has really leaned into like, I'm just going to do the big budget action movies, and it's because these are fun. Brad Pitt's more leaned into, I mean, he's doing a big budget action movie here, but you know, he's done all sorts of weird shit. Like he did Babylon a couple years ago.
Yeah, that did not do good either.
But he's still taking like some risks with things he's doing.
Yes.
Whereas Tom Cruise, or even, you know, we can even go to a lesser son, Denzel, are going into things and they're like, how much money can I make? And what's like the biggest role that I could do?
Well, I think Brad is seeing this and he's like, let me get a slice of this. How can I get a slice of this? What you guys are doing over here? And he has kind of set himself up to now follow that same path with Tom Cruise, working with this team that did Top Gun Maverick. But he's, you know, he's in like some of my favorite movies, like fucking Fight Club. Holy shit, he's amazing in that. Seven. He's in some of my favorite movies of all time. Yes, a lot of them. So the guy's a really good actor, and it's unfair. He has it all. Fuck that guy.
What would you say your favorite is? Probably Fight Club?
Yeah. Yes.
I haven't seen all the Brad Pitt movies. He's done a shit ton. Yeah. But I think his most iconic for me is Seven.
Yeah. What's in the box?
What's in the box?
I mean, what's in the box? So anyways, look, back to F1.
So F1, that's just setting the stage there. Sports movie, racing movie, Joseph Kosinski, Brad Pitt. Yeah. Okay, that's all you need to know.
Directed by Joseph Kosinski.
That's basically the synopsis right there.
It kind of is. He writing this movie is this dude, Aaron Kruger, and he also helped write Top Gun Maverick. So he literally had the same team. Now, you got to throw in Jerry Bruckheimer. Jerry Bruckheimer, somebody is supplying the good coke because Jerry Bruckheimer is producing, and you get that the Bruckheimer-ness in this movie. You have Lewis Hamilton, who's an F1 racer, comes in to look at all the details. Joe Kosinski also producing. And then they make this thing, full collaboration licensed by F1, similar to like a Barbie. And so that's wild. Also starring, let's just go through the cast real quick here. Of course, you got Brad Pitt as Sonny Hayes, Damson Idris as Joshua Pierce, the hotshot rookie, Javier Bardem as Ruben Cervantes, who owns the racing team, Kerry Condon as Kate McKenna, technical director. You got a couple of other people, Tobias Menzies as the bad guy, Peter Banning, and some other people. I don't need to mention them. There's a lot of people. So that's your main crew.
I'm going to take us back just 1 second.
Yeah.
And then we'll get into the film.
Yeah.
Because similar to Tom Cruise, you mentioned the directors Brad Pitt's worked with.
Yes.
I'm just going to fire off a few.
Yeah.
Fincher.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
Soderbergh.
Yeah.
Andrew Dominic. Ridley Scott. Tony Scott.
Yeah.
Joel Coen. Terrence Malick. Damien Chazelle.
Wow.
Guy Ritchie. Alejandro Inarritu. Adam McKay. Terry Gilliam. Robert Zemeckis. Robert Redford. Wolfgang Peterson, Martin Brest, Joseph Kosinski, and Doug Liman, and a bunch more. George Miller.
I mean, it mirrors like Tom Cruise's career, and that reminded me of Leo DiCaprio. Also, has worked with
Leo's like that
a
too.
lot of those same directors.
Yeah.
So, but he's not doing any action movies. I don't know. He didn't really.
Well,
do
the One Battle After Another, it looks like it might.
Oh,
be
that's right.
action.
That movie
that's
looks
a PTA movie.
That movie looks really weird.
Yeah.
The movie is PG-13. It's 2 hours, 35 minutes. You did give the plot. What happens? Do you want to?
Well, yeah. Quick synopsis.
Yeah.
I already somewhat summarized it, but just to talk about it here, Brad Pitt plays Sonny Hayes.
Sonny Hayes.
He is an older driver that was in F1 and is now just chasing the high of racing. And one of his old buddies from his F1 days needs his help because he has an F1 team that continues to lose and is failing. So he recruits Sonny Hayes as a last-ditch effort to pair him with this young and up-and-coming rookie to turn things around. Otherwise, he will be fired and lose his F1 team. So this old guy and this young rookie who don't have anything in common have to get along and turn things around for this team before it is gone.
Win some races. Yeah.
You got to win. They got to win a race.
Listen, not groundbreaking stuff. Very simple, straightforward.
Very, very already. I mean, that premise
We've
is.
seen it how many times? That was Top Gun Maverick. Same story.
It's
It's the same fucking movie. Having
Old guy brought in.
One last shot.
Be friends with the young guy. The young guy doesn't understand you. They learn about each
They
other.
both learn from each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Throw in a love story.
Yeah.
And you got a cliche movie.
You got a Jerry Bruckheimer summer blockbuster is what you got.
Yeah.
Okay, so having said all that, at the end of the day, Anthony, you saw this at the Alamo?
Of course. I didn't get to see it in an IMAX because I'm so loyal to the Alamo at this point that I'm just going there all the time.
I regret not seeing it in IMAX. Just the times were weird because the movie is so long.
Yeah.
It's like if I can't make the 6 p.m., I got to wait till 10 p.m. No, I'm not doing that. So I just saw it when I could see it. But I wish I seen it in IMAX. What'd you think once the movie was over?
Yeah, this is a true summer blockbuster that is meant to be in the movie theaters. I'm not an F1 guy. I'm not a racing guy, but I thoroughly enjoyed watching this movie. I thought it was fantastic, amazing cinematography, amazing racing scenes, great soundtrack, Brad Pitt, cliche sports movie. It's one of those things where you go in and sometimes you when you go into like certain movies, you're like, I want to be challenged a little bit.
Yeah.
Or I want to, feel like, I want there to be twists and turns, or I want them to subvert things. And then there are times where it's like, hey, I just want a fucking dirty cheeseburger.
Yeah.
That's fucking juicy and delicious.
Yeah. Just simple.
I don't want some beef au jus with fennel.
Right.
Don't
reinvent it. Don't reimagine it.
I don't want a burger that has a Beyond Burger with like fucking radish on it or something crazy.
Lettuce as the bun. Come on. What are we doing?
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes familiar is good.
Yeah.
And this movie executes that cliched sports movie trope at the highest level with amazing cinematography, like I said, great soundtrack, great lead, fun movie, and just some really revolutionary stuff in terms of the way they filmed it. I had a great time. It's safe, but sometimes safe is good. And when it's executed at the level that it's executed here, I'm more than willing to be like, yeah, that was awesome. And I had a great time with it.
Yeah.
Plot, I have criticisms, right?
Yeah.
Plot's a little formulaic, it's a little thin, sometimes a little boring.
Yeah.
Sometimes I maybe even, cliched to the max, but fuck it. It's just those racing scenes alone.
Yes.
I mean, you get right away, now we'll get to your thoughts. Right away, you get thrown into a racing scene. And you're like, holy shit, like look at the way this is filmed. And then you have Hans Zimmer doing the score. And then you have like all these original, like if you throw on Spotify or Apple or whatever you listen to music, the F1 soundtrack.
Yeah.
There's probably 7 to 10 original songs that they made.
Oh, there was, I think,
artists.
Ed Sheeran made a song. I saw
Ed Sheeran, the girl
Tate
from
McRae did a song.
Tate McRae, Doja Cat.
Doja Cat.
One of the K-pop groups, the Rosie, I think, made it. Like, there's so many songs, and it's a throwback, right? Where they made music for the movie, And all of that stuff for me works really well. We can get into the nitpicks in a little bit, but overall, a movie that you need to go and see in the movie theater, the daddest movie of all time.
No, I gotta agree. It is a dad/dude movie, 2000s Jerry Bruckheimer style, like complete throwback.
And a cool movie.
Yeah, it's effortless. But it is very predictable. But like you said, when it's executed well, a burger is delicious, right? But it's cooked to perfection. But holy shit, all of the racing scenes were so fucking good.
Exhilarating.
So dynamic, thrilling. I was clutching the fucking armrest. Like, I didn't realize these fuckers go 200, 250 miles an hour. And
how about when not only the racing scenes, but then the crash scenes are like
fantastic crashes. Yes.
Right. Where you're like, like that one where
the first one got me. I was like, oh shit. When
Damson?
Yes. When Joseph Pierce crashes first.
And you got to be like, how did they film that? Like, did they really crash a car like that?
And then like they crash so much. They both crash. Then he crashes. Then they both crash.
And then you realize the crashing is part of one of the strategies. It's great.
What blows my mind is these are $150 million cars. And they took F2 cars and made them look like F1 cars. And Joe Kosinski...
maybe not 150 million, Imran.
Well, I mean the real ones. But the thing is, they just wreck these cars and then just rebuild them. Like, the money behind all this is insane. So I just loved how they embedded themselves with the F1 racing season and shot on 10 races.
Right.
During 10 races.
Huge.
Like that national anthem scene, like that was on TV. And they would pan over and they just stopped before they got to the last team. And it's kind of like Any Given Sunday, them inventing a whole new racing team with logos, all the details. And these are essentially like rocket ships run by computers with wheels. It's the machine. The cars are fucking crazy. So Kosinski takes his cameras that he developed for Top Gun Maverick, evolves them further, shrinks them down, mounts them on the car so that Brad Pitt and Damson Idris are driving these fucking cars at pretty high speeds, and they can capture all this. And I think it's the best racing cinematography that's ever been done.
The best. Well, I have a comment there too, because I listened to Joseph Kosinski's an interview with him on The Big Picture, where he was talking about this. And the cinematographer, I forget what the guy's name is in this movie, but he was also from...
He's the same guy.
Same guy, yeah, right? So the same guy, I want to grab his name real quick because I think it's important. Claudio Miranda.
Yes.
He did also Top Gun Maverick. And basically Joseph Kosinski said that the cameras they use for Top Gun Maverick, they had to reinvent cameras. Because those cameras, the thing about the F1 cars is they're built on being as light as possible.
Right.
So if you put those Top Gun cameras on here, they're too heavy.
Yep.
So the scenes where they're driving, the cars wouldn't have gone fast enough to look realistic.
Right.
So they had to reinvent the cameras. Yeah. But like you mentioned, they filmed these during the races.
Yeah.
And Brad Pitt and Damson Idris, like you can see they're fucking in the cars for the most part, right? There's some where maybe they're not, but they're fucking in those cars. So by doing that and filming them in the cars and building these cameras and filming them on location, it adds to the verisimilitude of it feeling real.
Yeah.
Like it fucking feels so real. And one of the things he said also is each of these races has an individual vibe and party because they're all like big festivals.
Yeah. It was fun seeing all the locations as they went to each race.
I feel like for me, and probably for you, like you get that through the screen where you go to each of these races and you're like, wow, that's in Vegas. That's in fucking wherever. Like this one's in Europe. And you're like, this is crazy.
Yeah. These tracks are fucking crazy.
The environments is so like enthralling.
So I know the slight compositing that was made, he had mentioned, so they were able to film Brad and Damson on those tracks by themselves. Mm-hmm. There was no way they were going to put other F1 drivers on there, but then there's real F1 drivers in this whole movie. Like all those drivers, those are real teams, Ferrari and McLaren. Right. So they had that footage that they could put and composite in, right? But it looks... It looks so real. It looks so practical. And he achieves the same thing he does in Top Gun Maverick. It makes you feel like you're in the vehicle going fucking 200 miles an hour.
The most crazy one for me is not the ones where they show their face or they show like the road, but it's the ones where they had the cameras mounted in. Yeah, and you're spinning and you could see that they're in the car,
Yeah.
but then it's spinning around. I'm like, holy shit.
You see the car next to them, you see behind them, and it goes, vroom, and you're like, whoa.
But then also,
yeah.
like, not only those scenes, we're stuck on these scenes because it is the crux of the movie.
Yeah.
But then you add in the music for each of these, and it just takes it to another level where it's like, if they didn't do that, I almost feel like there was almost one too many races because they do a lot of races.
Yeah, I mean, they had 9 races left. I don't know if they showed 9, but
they add the music, and I felt like each race had its own vibe because of the music.
Oh, I wonder if it was like where it was. They kind of adjusted the music to the location also.
I mean, there was some that were like country-ish, some that were needle drops, like Zeppelin. Then you had some hip hop in there. Then you had just regular Hans Zimmer, and I read that Hans Zimmer was trying to go for this mix of, they wanted it to be this EDM type vibe because it's very mechanical.
Yeah.
But then also they still wanted some of the orchestra type stuff. So they blended both because they wanted to combine the feeling of like man and machine.
And then the sound of the engines, I believe, is very authentic because Brad Pitt was saying that dude, Lewis Hamilton, who did I say? The F1 driver.
Yeah.
He could hear and be like, that's not what it would sound like when he's taking that turn.
Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis Hamilton. Like, he could just tell what the engine would sound like, which car it was. Because they're all like gearheads. So this is another thing I loved was learning the strategy and the details from.
I had no idea what that was.
The announcer guy was hilarious. I thought you never see him, but he's literally just explaining race strategy to you, like we're 4-year-olds, which I needed.
Well, the thing is they wanted to.
They want to make more fans. This is an advertisement. This one
it's
big
an advertisement for F1, right? They licensed, but also they knew that to make this movie big, they couldn't just appeal to the niche F1 audience. They needed to like involve everybody.
Yeah.
And that was their way. And a lot of sports movies do this where they have the announcer explaining things to you.
It worked.
I thought it worked.
Yeah.
Right. I needed that. I needed to understand why Brad Pitt crashing into another car and there being a red light or whatever it was.
Slows the race down.
Yeah, I needed someone to tell me why that was.
And then the fact that you got to have different tires for different parts of the race, I also thought was
the fucking tires. Yeah. Now every time I watch an F1, I'm going to go, are they on the hard or medium?
Is that
tires?
soft? Is it the hard? Is it the medium tires? The pit stop that they got under 3 seconds? Are you fucking kidding me? There's like, that was they're done.
Well, that was crazy. Like in the beginning, they were fucking up the pit stop.
The girl dropped her thing.
They're getting them in 2 or 3 seconds. I'm going, that's really what they do. Probably that's crazy.
So a lot of people are saying this is possibly the most authentic racing movie. Now, here's what I've seen looking at reviews and videos from F1 fans. Mm-hmm. Just like comic book nerds, I don't think they're happy.
No, they're nitpicking.
Yes, but
they're nitpicking
because it's fair to say. Some of those shenanigans Sonny Hayes pulls in this movie,
not real.
He would have been booted and banned from the fucking thing instantly.
They picked on that, and they also picked on the fact that it was so played up that they had a female director.
Right, but she's the love interest.
Right, but they do the whole. What did you think of there being the love interest in this?
You know what? You got I was like, you don't really need this. It's unnecessary, but you need something for the ladies, right? So it makes it a 4-quadrant film. Where you have a romance for the women that they always like. You see Brad Pitt movie, you kind of want to see that. I did think it was funny because I was like, oh, woman technical director, that's progressive. I don't know if that's a real thing. And then she ends up banging her. And then he convinces her to modify the car, gets her in trouble, but it all gets reversed.
Well, I thought she was good.
She was good. Carrie Condon.
Yeah. Was it necessary to have a love story? No. But this is a throwback Jerry Bruckheimer sports blockbuster movie with a stud in the lead role. Yeah,
but Maverick didn't have a love story. It didn't need it, and they were smart.
Well, no, it didn't need it. But fuck it, give it to me. Give it to me, and play that. Yeah, play that goddamn. I think it's a black pink girl that's singing that. Rosie.
Okay,
singing that song. Yeah. Give me the cheesy love song. But that's them making out.
It's part of the formula, right? And that's what I mean. Like, it's too long. Like, they could have cut 20 minutes. That would have been something I cut.
It's probably a little too long,
but it hits the formula of what you do with these Bruckheimer.
Okay, here's the next thing. Yeah, we loved the races. Music was good. Yeah, love story not necessary. Yeah, movie might be a little too long. Yeah. A lot of the movies built on Brad Pitt and Damson Idris. What did you think of their relationship and specifically both of their acting?
So I thought Brad was pretty good. Yeah. I feel like, so this was my Damson Idris question is after this, is he Black Panther material? I honestly felt, I wish the drama hit me a little more like it did in Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
So I was like a step away from really caring and investing. Damson Idris was fine. I didn't see him do anything really special that made me go, that guy should be Black Panther.
Right.
But he was serviceable. He got the role. Like, their chemistry was good. The banter was kind of funny. There's some funny lines where he's like, what am I, 7? What does that make me, 8, 9? I'm number 10. But it was just surface level, right?
Yeah.
For me.
I agree. I think that's probably for me one of the weaker parts. I don't think it's bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't feel their connection in the same way that, like you said, Top Gun Maverick, where
there's emotion
Rooster's
there.
kid
Oh my God.
and
yeah.
But there is that built-in prior movie. But yeah, I think, and just in general, the movie doesn't get to the depth of you caring emotionally about all the characters like you do in Top Gun Maverick.
Yes.
I think that Brad Pitt is good in the role. He's very charismatic.
Yeah.
The most depth you get is when he's talking to her on the balcony and talking about like this basically being his last chance and he's flying.
Oh yeah.
But his relationship with Damson Idris, I believe the character is JP.
Yeah, Joseph Pierce.
I don't think it gets to that level where I'm like fully invested in both of them as a team.
Yeah.
I think it hits the beats.
Yes.
But the work isn't done well enough where I'm all in on it.
But the racing drama between them was great. You know,
I like the racing.
The fact that he was supposed to let him pass that one race and he just can't. He's like, I can't let anybody pass me.
Right.
And I think they both crash. And then, you know, the finale where
before that though, he's letting Brad Pitt is trying to get him to win.
Yeah.
And pushing him to keep racing on the tires, but then JP sees an opportunity to go, and Brad Pitt doesn't tell him to go, but he still goes, and that's when he causes that crash.
Yes, that's the one in the rain where he tells him don't pit, which is another interesting strategy, right? Like when to pit.
Well, he says don't pit, but then he also says when he goes,
he says take him on the straight, and he didn't wait for the straight.
He went on the curve.
Yeah, and
then the mom blames Brad for that.
Yes, and then eventually, of course, Pierce has to confess, be like, that wasn't his fault.
Right.
That was my fault.
And then at the end, Pierce lets him win.
Yeah, well, they play that poker game where I think Sonny lets him win. Like he wants the kid to, when, you know, in the beginning, he's like, I don't care about teaching anyone. I just want to race. But by the end, like he wants to give the kid a chance and get better. He lets him win the poker game so he would take the lead, and he gives him the lead.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final race where they end up in 3rd and 4th place.
Right.
Right. And so Sonny draws out the car and Pierce can cut around for the win, but then he crashes.
Well, Pierce crashes, but that lets Sonny get
and then
the lead.
Sonny, he was going to let Pierce was supposed to win. And then, so that was a nice little twist. You're like, oh shit, Sonny's going to get the win at the end.
Well, it's his last, it's his one chance to get this. I did enjoy, as not even cliche, I did enjoy when Sonny gets the lead in the last race and it just goes quiet.
Oh,
and you see him driving.
Yes, he's in the zone.
He's in the zone and they ask what's going on and she just goes, he's flying. I thought that was actually pretty nice.
There's a scene like that, exactly like that in Gran Turismo also, where you just get in the zone. And
those are always good where where they're in the zone and you just hear the road and the engine.
Yeah.
Like those are always nice.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that whole thing where Sonny crashes and then Ruben fires him and then there's corporate espionage with the thing.
Oh yeah, so that's like the plot twist, right?
Yeah.
Where they kind of, and Joseph Kosinski said this the third act, they throw in something that makes it not so clear, like throws you off the scent. And in this movie, just to recap, there's this other character played by what's his name?
That's Tobias Menzies, Peter Banning.
Yes, right. What's Peter? Tobias Menzies.
Yeah.
He's a board member
in
the beginning. He's played up as this guy that doesn't know anything about F1. He's just there investing, and then later on, he sabotages the team because they're doing too well, and he tells Brad Pitt, "I did this to you, but because I don't want you guys to win, I want you guys to lose, so that Javier Bardem's character loses the team."
Yeah.
and then I will make you the head of the team.
Right. He said, I'll make you team leader.
So he's sabotaging the team because they were doing too well. And he initially, and he goes, I actually approved your hire because I thought you would sabotage the team. I thought it would fuck the team up. It's going the other way. But it's gone the other way, and now you're this popular guy. Brad Pitt's character becomes very popular throughout the movie because he's doing all these like off-kilter things.
Right.
And all the fans are basically going, he's cool. We like him.
Yeah. He's doing crazy moves.
So yeah, but then Brad Pitt's like, fuck you.
Yeah. I'm
going to get back on the team and I'm going to try to win.
But then it all gets undone, right? Ruben hires him back, and then she's cleared, and they get to modify the car again. So
Ruben didn't want him because of the past injuries, and then he loopholes his way back into the team.
So this movie got me in a little bit of a rabbit hole on F1.
Oh, wow.
And I watched the documentary, and we'll talk about that later. But from some of my learning about the history, I learned that all of the crashes are inspired by real crashes.
Right.
In fact, remember the crash they show as a flashback of Sonny, the yellow car, and the guy?
A real one.
That's Peter Donnelly, 1990. That was a real accident. That guy didn't die, but he was fucked up.
Yeah.
And he hit the wall going 176 miles an hour.
It's crazy.
And a lot of these crashes you see when you watch this shit, they're hitting the wall. Some like the steering wheel goes out, they're hitting the wall 180 miles an hour.
That's so insane.
You're fucking dead. Like it's wild. It's wild. So I was like, oh my God. And then ones where his hand got burned, that's like another crash. That one was the Pierce crash was based on 2 different crashes. So just the inclusion of this and the history and the research and the way F1 just let him come in, I thought was really interesting. And I think it might make more fans because it is a lot of people saying it's the most boring racing sport, but I found it rather exciting. But
I agree. I found it. I don't know if I'll go and watch Drive to Survive, but I definitely had an increased interest in the sport after watching the movie.
Yeah.
One other thing, a couple things from Joseph Kosinski. He also mentioned, and this is why he plays it up in the movie, but one of the unique things about F1 is you race with your teammate.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And he said when he was getting into F1, one of the things he learned is the drivers, their biggest rival is their teammate.
Isn't that wild? What kind of a team sport is this?
And the reason for that is not only obviously they're racing against them, but every car is built to be its own thing. Yeah. So Ferrari builds their car, Porsche, whatever.
Right.
Each of the cars are different. So the only car that you're driving that is exactly the same is the teammate that you have.
Oh, shit.
So the only person you know that you can really compete against and know that you're better than because you're both driving the same vehicle is your fucking teammate.
And there can only be one winner, right?
Right.
So I thought that was so fascinating. A team sport where you're not only competing against other teams, you're competing against your teammate.
But then there's the strategy aspect of them like working together and trying to block people.
Draw people out, do some crashes, slow it down. But somebody has to win, and these guys have egos. So I imagine it's not always smooth figuring out who you're going to let win. If you're right there, you're just going to take it.
Couple other interesting things I learned. So the movie ends with Brad Pitt winning.
Yes.
And he wins. He goes off into the sunset, and the movie starts with him winning the Daytona 24 Hours of Daytona.
Yeah.
And then him seeing an ad in the newspaper to go to Baja to race another race.
Yeah.
And then the movie ends here where he's going to Baja to race a race, and they're going, we don't have a lot of money to pay. He's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just doing this for fun, basically.
Yeah.
It's not about the money.
He's racing Baja now.
So apparently the original beginning of the movie was actually that scene in Baja.
Oh,
they were going to start it there.
He was going to
but apparently someone got into Joseph Kosinski's ear and said, no, we have to start this with a race. Like we need to jump right into it. It's too much of a cold start.
No, that was a smart change because absolutely you want to. The movie starts, you're like, all right, show me a race,
and you're right away. You're following this guy as he's walking through to get onto to Daytona, and you right away see like, oh shit, it's a race.
Was that the one with the fireworks too? That first race?
Yeah,
they drive through the fireworks. It's such a cool fucking shot.
There's so many. I mean, the fireworks, the planes driving across with the different the flag colors and all that stuff.
Shit.
Each of those Grand Prix locations.
Those are the real fucking race. They just went there and started shooting, and they're like, they give us 20 minutes to shoot every race. They would slot them in and then shoot their shit.
One thing I found interesting, if you were in Vegas, I know it's a party town, but those drivers are out partying and drinking the night before a race. Is that real?
I mean,
I don't know about being hungover for a race.
They're athletes. You know they're not going to fuck around. They know what they got to do. There's too much on the line. Maybe some of them think they can do that, but
I don't know.
It's just like any other sport.
That seems like hell.
Like I can't.
To be stuck in that fucking car with however hot it is in that goddamn car.
That's
and being having to be that focused and you're fucking hungover.
That's why you pop.
I can barely put on my clothes and I'm hungover.
That's why you pop the bubbly afterwards and douse yourself. You probably lose 10 pounds, 30 pounds of water weight in those fucking cars. So at the end, he's racing Baja. Maybe that's a course for a sequel. Kaczynski threw this out into the world. He's like, you know what I want? I want a Days of Thunder F1 crossover. Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt together. I think they need to do a movie together. I don't think they've only done the Interview with a Vampire, but bring out that character from Days of Thunder because Bruckheimer is working on a Days of Thunder reboot and he's working on Top Gun 3. We're going to get that as well.
I did see that.
Tom Cruise ain't going anywhere, but Cruise Pitt racing movie crossover, that could be dope.
I mean, there's little to no, or how do I say this? There is more than likely Tom Cruise saw this movie and went, yeah, I got to fucking race a car. I got to do another racing movie.
Oh, yeah.
There's no chance he didn't look at that and go, I want to do that.
Absolutely. Like he's probably, I'm sure he drives F1 fucking cars and it's Days of Thunder was in the 90s.
Right.
And then far as Kaczynski, his next thing, right? He put the cameras on planes. He put the cameras on race cars. Apparently he is working on Miami Vice next.
So
he's going to put the cameras on the boats, speedboats. That's what.
So that's a rumor that's out there. From the interview, though, they asked him, "You've done air, you've done road, you got to do water." Yeah. He laughed, and he said he implied that he's got 3 or 4 scripts in the works, and he's figuring out what he's going to do. He kind of implied though that he wants to get away from. He wants to do a little something different.
The thing is, he has found his lane and the formula. Like, it's the same movie, but it's fucking thrilling. And if you are bringing groundbreaking shit each time, it makes it worth it. He's found his fucking thing, I feel.
Have you seen the other movies he's done?
I saw Oblivion recently before we watched Mission Impossible. It's okay. It's a little long. It's Tom Cruise. The story is convoluted. I don't really remember much of it, but it was okay. And then the other one, what's the other one I haven't seen is
he's done
there's another
Only the Brave, but the movie his first movie was Tron Legacy.
I have not seen that. I want to watch that.
Tron Legacy, I didn't like the movie that much. I wasn't into Tron, but it is fucking gorgeously shot. Yeah. There's another one of those. You watch that movie and you go, wow, this is amazing. And the soundtrack also, I think that one is
Daft Punk.
It's definitely, as the kids say, a vibe.
It looks beautiful.
Yeah. He definitely can shoot something. He figures out the right people to get on board with his movies to shoot things that look impeccable.
Yeah, and everybody is like invested. They've bought in, clearly, right? And Javier Bardem was great. He's just good in everything.
He bears mentioning too. I thought he slides into the role of rich Spanish guy really well.
Yes. Barely a stretch, possibly.
Yeah. He fits that role perfectly.
Dude, he is so fun. Conan has this travel show on HBO Max called Conan and Brian Must Go. So he goes to Argentina and he hangs out with Javier Bardem. And Javier is just, without missing a beat, just as goofy and silly and plays like games with Conan. And I was like, oh my God, I want to hang out with Javier Bardem. He seems really cool. Yeah, he seems really cool. I'll talk about the marketing a little bit because this was something I didn't mention on the show, but meaning to. They put out a special trailer. So if you have an iPhone and you go to the Apple TV app, they put out something called a haptic trailer. Okay. Haptic motors are the things in your phone that vibrate the phone. So you play this trailer and it's designed to vibrate with the trailer. It increases, it gets smaller. You feel the vibration in your hand when the cars are on. It was actually really neat. And I was like, I'd never seen anybody do this with a trailer before. So they were doing all sorts of things. They were sending out like free ticket offers and shit to Apple TV members. So they spent a lot of money, but I think it's going to pay off. Like, I feel like this is going to have a little bit of legs. It has all the IMAX screens until Jurassic Park, I think. Superman.
The only issue is it's bumping up against a pretty stacked July.
Yeah.
But I do agree that I think this is the type of movie where, I mean, I watched it and I immediately texted my friends and went, you got to go and see this fucking
You know why
thing.
it's good? It's an adult movie because all the kid movies have been doing huge and there's been so many family movies. And this one is unapologetically a dude throwback adult movie. And it's just executed pretty well. I wish the drama was a little bit.
Yeah, I think that the plot is a little too surface level. Like it needed just an extra punch there.
It's a little thin, yes.
But overall, I mean, it's a well done movie. I think it'll have legs internationally. I think it's going to play really well there. And it's as I mentioned before, I think it's the type of movie where you see it and you text people and you go, you gotta see this in the fucking theater, even if you don't like the film.
It'll turn people on to F1. Like, I'm into it for like a week and I'll forget about it, but it got me into finding out more.
Yeah, no, it did. And this is also, someone mentioned, the big picture mentioned this is the evolution of the next blockbusters. So we've been doing all this IP stuff, right?
Yeah, it's a corporate movie.
Well, we've doing, your comic books and all these different things, and they're making sequels on sequels. But he said, his name's Sean Fennessy. He said, this is the evolution of what people want to see next is you take IP that we're familiar with, but we haven't seen in this setting.
Yeah, like Barbie.
And you put it on the big screen. So like 2 years ago, you did Barbie. Yeah. Now you're doing F1. You take these things that people are familiar with.
Yeah, right.
And then you throw them on the big screen in a different way.
I think it's funny. The title is F1 : the movie.
The movie.
Just so to
silly.
differentiate it from F1 the racing. I don't know.
That's like when they released Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie.
It's not the TV show.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, you gotta put the movie in there.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what other IP.
What else could you do this with? Yeah, I mean,
Crochet, the movie.
Crochet, Pickleball, the movie. Get ready for an intense pickleball movie coming, people. But I feel like it's very authentic. And what did you think about Damson Idris Black Panther? I wouldn't be mad.
Would not be mad. I wouldn't say he was a standout for me.
Yeah.
I thought he was fine. He was okay, but I wouldn't be mad if he inhabits the role. He seems like a tall, muscular kind of guy.
Yeah, I think if he bulks up a little bit, that's all he's got to do. And it's just he was fine. Like, I didn't see anything.
He's fine. Yeah,
I didn't see anything extra. But
the movie rides on Brad Pitt.
It's his movie, and he has the it factor in his aging. I mean, he still looks great for fucking 60, whatever.
The whole movie, I'm going. He's 61 years old.
Yeah.
But he's banging Carrie Condon. He's 40.
He's doing planks and push-ups and shit. And
yeah, that was good. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
All right, let's do a rating and ranking. Before I do that,
what about ranking it again?
Well, yeah, I guess I'm just gonna read. I got a list of the top 10 racing movies here according to Rotten Tomatoes. Okay, so I'll tell you where this movie lands, and then you can just give me a rating. So number 1 is this movie called Grand Prix from 1966, 100% monometer. It is a drama. Number 2 is this movie called Senna. It's a documentary from 2010. Then we have Ford versus Ferrari. Rush, which is from 2013 and has Chris Hemsworth in it. And then F1 the movie. Talladega Nights. Le Mans from 1971. The first Fast and the Furious. This is a racing movie. 2001. Speed Racer from the Wachowskis, 2008. And that's at 41%. And then this surprised me. Days of Thunder. Tony Scott, Tom Cruise, 1990, 39% tomato meter. I remember liking this movie. I thought it was good.
So I haven't seen very many of these movies. I've only seen Fast and Furious and Ford v Ferrari.
I think you should compare it to Top Gun Maverick. Give me a number.
So the Top Gun Maverick is a comparison you can make just because of the director and the premise, but they're not exactly the same.
Yeah.
One is a legacy action sequel.
Yeah.
And the other one's a sports movie.
Original sports.
Right. Yeah. So it's not as good as Top Gun Maverick. I went in with expectations that it could be as good. It's unfortunately not as good as Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned earlier, it's a fucking delicious cheeseburger.
Yeah.
It gives you mostly everything you want. It's cliched, but it feels good to watch it, and it's impeccably filmed with a great soundtrack and some good acting. I would say probably an 8 out of 10 is a fair score. Like, I think it's really well done and worth seeing on the biggest screen you can find it on.
Yeah.
And if you can't see it on the biggest screen, try to see it in the theater.
Yeah.
Because it's a dad movie that you would watch. It's a summer blockbuster dad movie.
It's a solid spectacle popcorn blockbuster dad dude movie.
Yeah, spectacle is a good way to describe it.
It's a spectacle you have to experience. I might go see it back in the IMAX.
We haven't had. I mean, the last movie that I went and saw in the theater, and I went, you have to see this in the theater, is Sinners.
Yeah,
like that. I got the same feeling. It's not as good as Sinners.
Yeah.
But the same feeling where I came out of there and I went, I'm glad I fucking saw that in a theater, and I want to tell people to go see this in the theater.
There's some original movies starting to hit again. Sinners, I think, is the first R-rated original movie to make that much money in like 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very interesting trend. I do agree also, it is not as good as Top Gun Maverick. Ford versus Ferrari is better, but
I like this better than Ford v Ferrari.
Really?
I'm gonna tell you that. Yeah,
I'll give this an 8. I think that drama in Ford v Ferrari, in that whole Le Mans thing, I think is better. Rush, I can't remember if I've seen Rush. There's another movie called Rush, but I'll give it an 8 too. It's solid crowd pleaser. Sometimes you need these. Don't reinvent it, just do it well. That's what he did.